Protests have spread across Iran since late December, beginning with demonstrations over economic hardship and currency collapse, before evolving into broader anti-government unrest. Reports describe merchants at Tehran's Grand Bazaar protesting soaring inflation and the rapid depreciation of the rial on December 28th, followed by nationwide demonstrations involving workers, students, and other social groups.
Iran has been seeing, as you said, nationwide protests that keep coming back every few years. I think this one is unprecedented because it's very hard to document this one, but as far as we know, it's the most expansive one. As the documentation goes, it seems like the protests have been in every single protest of the country, and the crackdown has been quite severe. It's always been extreme in the Islamic Republic, but this time the extension of it, some even compared some of the killings to the killings of the mass executions, for example, of the 1980s. Right now, some of the numbers that we are seeing and hearing about are comparable to one of the darkest eras of the Islamic Republic in the 80s. So it is unprecedented because it seems literally like a battleground on the street, a regime against its own people.
In the days that followed, clashes between protesters and security forces intensified. Iranian authorities imposed internet restrictions after violence escalated in the capital in early January, limiting access to independent reporting and external communication.
In Rasht, in northern Iran, there was a fire in the bazaar, and a group of young people were stopped in bazaar. Behind them there was fire, and in front of them there were security forces, and then they raised their hands to come out, and they were all shot dead. There are also stories of these forces shooting people who are injured in the head just to finish them off. In many places. So basically there has been a massacre in Iran. That's what we hear. And of course, a main concern right now is situation of those who have been detained, those who have been arrested, and they are like thousands. And it seems that the regime is deciding to, implement hasty trials and sentence many of them to death. So we are concerned about possible wave of executions.
Footage that widely circulated in the media shows the state of Rasht before and after the protests. Iranian officials have rejected accusations of excessive force, instead blaming Israel and United States-backed armed elements for turning initially peaceful protests into violent confrontations. Outside Iran, the unrest has triggered diplomatic and economic responses. The United States announced sanctions targeting Iranian officials and financial networks it describes as linked to the crackdown. Discussions on Iran have also entered the United Nations Security Council, where the UN Secretary General emphasized respect for human rights and rejected military intervention. On January 16th, US President Donald Trump publicly thanked Iranian authorities for not proceeding with planned executions of political prisoners and signaled that prospects of US military action were receding. The following day, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei described the unrest as an American-led plot, blamed Washington for casualties and damage, and accused the U.S. president of encouraging the riots, while reiterating warnings that any U.S. military action would be met with retaliation. With direct reporting from Inside Iran Limited, much of what reaches the outside world comes through civilian statements, social media posts, shared by protest networks, along with reports compiled by rights groups and international news outlets operating outside the country. Iranian citizen Zara, who recently moved to Europe for postgraduate studies, spoke to our outlet, describing how she experienced the recent wave of protests. After the complete internet shutdown in Iran, we were confronted with images that are still impossible for anyone to fully comprehend. Images that people managed to send with great difficulty through Starlink. With a fragile shock mixed with rage and pain, we witnessed what happened in only 3 days. The repetitive cycle of demands for freedom and brutal repression, a recurring trauma. With the falling value of the currency and rising economic and psychological pressure, protests ignited again on December 28th. From the first moments, We all knew this was a new beginning. We also knew the internet would be cut again. So, friends called me to say goodbye before heading out to the protests. If I don't return, know that I love you. If you return to a free Iran, celebrate victory for us. I cried all night, a mix of pain, unity, bitterness, and acceptance of death. Then suddenly, silence. Everything disappeared into darkness. The memory of bloody Aben returned. On the 5th day, I heard my mother's voice for 15 seconds. "You cannot imagine what I saw, but I am alive," she said. Instagram accounts of activists have circulated footage described by their uploaders as showing scenes from Iran, including armed patrols, nighttime street confrontations, and claims of violent crackdowns near police posts. One widely shared clip shows security forces allegedly firing more than 200 shots at protesters in around 6 minutes on January 9th near the police station in Narmak. Separate reporting by Iran International has also described allegations that bodies of killed protesters are being held in forensic facilities under heavy security, with families facing restrictions and pressure when attempting to retrieve them. The outlet reports claims that some families are asked to pay money linked to the ammunition used or are warned that refusal to comply with burial conditions could result in bodies not being returned. Iran International says it has cross-checked elements of this reporting through multiple testimonies and footage, but independent verification remains difficult under the current circumstances. More than 3 weeks after the protests began, Iran remains under a communications blackout and heavy security presence, with independent verification still severely restricted. Eyewitness accounts continue to describe lethal force, mass detentions, and pressure on families of those killed. While officials frame the unrest as a foreign-backed plot, international pressure has grown. Iranian communities abroad continue to mobilize, and senior leaders in Tehran have escalated rhetoric against the United States, even as Washington signals reluctance toward direct intervention. Information from inside Iran remains limited, leaving casualty figures, detention numbers, and the status of protest networks difficult to independently confirm.